We're not talking to anybody yet. Hey, stop. No one's on yet.
But it still records it.
I apologize. Dance moves are not pretty. Don't try this at home, kids.
Oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to delete this. Let me see if I can get on here.
Hey, you should just do it from your camera on there.
I don't know what's going on.
Oh, hello!
I'm just not good at YouTube. If anyone is a YouTube genius, can you please help me?
We're struggling.
So I don't know if the other one is still going or what happened. If it just went black. Does anyone understand what happened?
Does it still say we're live on the other one? Or does it switch to this? We're slightly confused. What is this?
It's frustrating. Okay,
Part 2.
It just says it's buffering. It was frozen. It went black. It died. Froze. No, it's gone. Oh no. No, it's not live now. It's frozen. You're back. The other one froze.
This is why I stand behind the camera. This is the front of it.
And this is why I don't know how to do anything with technology. Okay, we are back at it. I don't know where you guys lost us because we just kept talking. Let's start from, okay, Barry's truck. We were talking about the GPS and the data from Barry Morphew's truck. And what, we also talked a little bit about what Barry was wearing. But anyways, let's go back with the GPS tracker on his Bobcat, which eventually they said the Bobcat didn't have anything, it was connected to Suzanne's disappearance, is eventually what Commander Walker said. But I think the timing of when the door opened and closed is really important, which I didn't really tweet because I was like so busy trying to take notes at the same time. I hope this live doesn't break down again.
Somebody said they think it's because you had too many people in the other one.
I don't think that's possible.
You're too famous.
No. Okay, they also talked a little. Okay, so activity on cell phone and truck, 2:47 a.m. to 5:30 a.m. took steps in disposing evidence. I don't know exactly. This is page 2 of the affidavit. I don't know exactly why I wrote this down. Okay. Okay, this is the 2:05. They went back and forth talking about the door of Barry's truck as well as the data on the surveillance camera of the Morphew home. They pretty much said that Suzanne sabotaged the surveillance cameras at the home because she's the one supposedly that pulled the certain cables, and investigators found the cables that she had taken out of the surveillance cameras. They took DNA swabs of those cords from the surveillance cameras, and they talked a little bit about the DNA mixture. Let's see what else. Oh, they talked about DNA from the glove box of Suzanne's vehicle.
Yeah, that was really interesting.
They said that there were 3, this is where I was confused, if it was 3 people that have sexual assault charges against them, or if it was one person with 3 sexual assault charges. But again, they mentioned that his DNA was not on the glove compartment. Again, they asked the investigator who called the Ritters. They said Mallory did. And they asked, did Barry ever call 911? No. Did he ever report her missing? No. To any law enforcement? No. They asked a little bit about the guns, and according to the investigator, all the guns were in a safe, which was not true. They did find a gun closest a closet near the garage door, as well as a shotgun against a wall in the garage. They did mention that Barry was quoted saying, "You can look in the house, you won't find anything." They made that known. Stanley wanted that to be on the record.
For those of you asking about Jeff, we'll get to him in a little bit, because there's a lot of details about him.
Yes. They skipped around a lot, but a lot of the cross-examination from the defense was about Jeff Libler.
Yeah.
Again, they said no blood was found on the bike helmet inside the home. And then this is the second witness, which the first witness, I think the Commander Walker was on the stand for 2 hours for the defense to talk to, and then 1 hour for the state to ask him questions as well. Yeah. So now we're on to the FBI agent with 12 years of experience. His name is Kenneth Harris. He interviewed a lot of family and friends in Indiana. He does typically a behavioral analyst, and he kind of gets, he asks people about, their situations in life and things like that. He was asked a lot about the spy pen. So this is just like, they described it as a regular pen. We didn't get to see what the pen looked like. Mm-hmm. We did hear some audio from the pen, but it's like a black pen that it's voice activated. So what we found out that it's Suzanne's pen. She got it.
Look like this.
No, I don't know.
Kind of.
She got the pen from her friend Sheila. Suzanne got the pen, and she didn't get it until like February of 2020. When she went to Florida and visited Sheila, and then also visited Jeff Libler.
And she had it sent to Sheila because she didn't want Barry to see it in the mail. So she had to send it to Sheila and then wait till they met up so that she could get it, so that Barry didn't know about it.
So there's one recording of Barry Morphew driving in the truck, and you can hear the radio on. He's listening to some news clips like Forensic Files or something like that that's talking about criminal cases. And supposedly in this recording, which is sometime in February or March, they're talking about someone going missing while bike riding.
Yep. That's the podcast that he's listening to in the car.
One recording, another recording in the truck is Suzanne was arguing with Barry about money. Mm-hmm. She's also arguing and is angry about what she can and cannot wear. I guess Barry was very adamant of what she could and couldn't wear. Yeah. This is again according to Agent Harris. They talked a little bit about her inheritance money from her mother, and that she used to help purchase Puma Path Home. And of course, she needed that money to either, leave Barry or to pay the Gene, her dad back, because, Barry had also borrowed money from her dad. There's also a recording of Suzanne and her best friend Sheila Oliver at a Super Bowl party, I guess. And then there's another recording that's 5 hours in length, talking with Jeff Libler. Again, this is a high school friend from Indiana, but he currently lives in Michigan. He has 6 kids and a wife, and it started in September of 2018 that she just reached out to him on Facebook and said, howdy, stranger.
Yeah.
And then
just like reconnect with an old high school friend.
Yeah. And then they started chatting, and then they started talking on the phone more. Mm-hmm. And then it started turning into, let's see each other. And they saw each other in like six different locations, 7 different times. The investigators said the first time they met up, it wasn't sexual. It was just, or they didn't have sex.
They hooked up, but didn't have sex.
Yeah. And I believe that was in New Orleans. And let's see what else.
Just to clarify real quick too, everyone thinks the spy pen was Barry's and he was trying to catch Suzanne doing something. But after today, they made it very clear that she's the one that got it, because she was trying to catch him either saying or doing something, or, just to have some sort of proof if she ever needed it in the future. So it was Suzanne that got it and not the other way around.
Mm-hmm. Okay, now they talked a lot about text messages, which I tried to type as quickly as I could about these text messages. And then one more thing about the affair is that she told no one. She didn't even tell her best friend, Sheila Oliver. So no one knew. So when they had this audio from this man named Jeff, it took them a while to figure out who this guy was, who Jeff was. And so they let, Sheila Oliver listen to it. They also let another friend named Holly Wilson listen to it. And they both didn't know who Jeff was at the time. They haven't exactly said. I think they, downloaded her iCloud, and that's when they figured out with her LinkedIn who Jeff was, because there was, he communicated with Jeff on LinkedIn a lot.
So I'm noticing a lot of the comments are why he didn't come forward sooner. And that was one thing they mentioned, or they brought up audio from Jeff specifically that said the reason that he waited so long to come forward and say that it was him was because he was concerned that he was going to bash Suzanne's name, and he was primarily worried about the girls. He didn't want to have
legacy.
Yes, they didn't want the girls to think anything lesser of their mom because of this or anything like that. And I'm sure in his head he was thinking, she's just missing. I'm not going to get involved because they don't need to know about it. Like, it would just ruin the way that they see their mom, and that's why it took him so long. And then he finally realized that it was getting a little more serious, but that was the main reason he didn't come forward. He just wanted to preserve Suzanne's great name and didn't want to ruin that in the eyes of her daughters.
Something that was really interesting to this investigator was that Sheila was first contacted by Mallory saying, Suzanne's missing. And when Sheila was talking to investigators, she said something like, Suzanne and Barry hadn't had a perfect night in over a year and a half. And that's not something that, they had learned or heard from Barry when they first talked to him. They had, Barry had mentioned that the night before Suzanne went missing, it was a perfect night. They had such a great night. And so when the investigators first learned of Suzanne, for Sheila's taking of their relationship and her understanding of the relationship, and that they didn't have a perfect night in over a year and a half, that kind of stuck out to this investigator. So let's go down. Are you looking at your notes too? They did mention that, whenever Suzanne was suspicious of Barry having an affair or talking to someone else, that he would turn off his cell phone. They did mention about the time where Barry went hunting, and he was supposed to be gone, and Sheila was visiting in Colorado, and they were hanging out at the house alone, and they'd seen some headlights coming, and it kind of stopped further down the driveway, and then they saw
someone get out of the car and kind of start walking around the property, almost like they were looking in the house. So then they called 911, and then all of a sudden the person got back in, turned on their headlights, and pulled forward, and it was Barry. So that was a little interesting.
Yeah, and they had called a neighbor, and the neighbor didn't find anything, and then they called 911, and then...
Because he was supposed to be gone hunting, so they wouldn't have suspected him.
It was like he got home early and didn't tell her.
Yeah.
And then it was interesting because while she's on the phone with dispatch, she realized it was Barry in his truck coming in from the neighborhood. So then they go back to text messages from Suzanne, in between Suzanne and Sheila. They talked a little bit about how one of the daughters knew more than what Suzanne wanted about Barry and Suzanne's relationship. One of the text messages was, "This is from Suzanne to Sheila. She knows more than she should. My heart is aching for what he did today. She and I had a peaceful, fun week. He came in and wrecked it and left, making her feel bad from him. It's sick. He looks for any reason to run. It can be small, and he blows up and takes off. I believe there's still another. I can't win with him. He's too good at the manipulation. I feel stuck. I can't let my health decline again." And investigators talked about how Sheila described how, whenever their marriage wasn't going well, her health declined. And it was worrying Suzanne because she had just beat cancer for the second time. And so she didn't want her health to decline. So it took a toll on Suzanne. And of course, her friend Sheila was concerned about this. They talked a little bit about supposedly Barry manipulation into, making the girls,
favor him.
Yeah, favor him and pit them against Suzanne.
Because he played the victim and then would make the girls feel bad for him, so then they would go to his aid rather than their moms, who, after a big argument, that was one thing they said, is he would try and use scripture against her whenever it was convenient for him to make her feel bad for whatever she was bringing up or talking about, and he would try and play that card just to make her feel a little bit worse. But that was definitely something I noticed. I was sitting in kind of the same row as the girls, but on the other side. And I noticed when they were talking about a lot of these text messages, specifically the ones involving the main daughter, she got very, very emotional. And I think it was just really hard for her to see those text messages from her mom and just kind of relive some of those arguments that she was either a witness to or had heard of from her mom. And that was kind of sad to see the toll that it was taking on her.
She even suggested separating.
Yeah.
And getting a divorce.
She just wanted them both to be happy and knew that that wasn't going to happen if they stayed together.
And this made the girls very emotional. Very emotional.
Yeah.
Yeah, let me read a couple of the text messages from Suzanne. Let's see. I can't handle the unstableness. The day he cut his leg, he accused me of wanting to go back to town to get his meds and talk to someone. I came back with, I can't question you about another, but you can me. He literally opened his door while I was driving up the mountain like he was gonna jump. His usual tactics when I bring up another. Then he pulled girls in and told them everything that day. I lost all respect for him that day. Sheila said, I would be interested to hear his conversation with the girls. And then Suzanne texted back, Macy mentioned us separating today or divorcing. She wants us happy. She's tired of the tension. She said she should just go to Gunnison and live with Mal. My heart broke to hear her. He plays the hurt one. Sheila then replied, does he have enough balls to talk to them with you there? Suzanne replied, says he loves me and can't handle the pain for me, not giving him love he needs. Doesn't mention all the damage he's done to me, physically, mentally. Sheila replied, makes me sad that Macy has to put in that situation. In 2018, Barry allegedly pushed her. Oh, this is something. So that was the end of the conversation for that text message thread. But in 2018, the investigator said, according to Sheila, that Barry allegedly pushed her into the closet and put a gun to his head and asked if this is what she wanted.
Suzanne being the she.
Yeah, sorry. Some more text messages. Suzanne wrote, I think when I press about there being another, I think she's talking about another woman, he's resorted to this extreme behavior to scare me so that I won't bring it up again. Sheila says, I'm sure. And then Suzanne replied, I wanted to try to make it work until Macy was on her own. I wouldn't feel safe alone with him. I don't see how I can get over the damage done. I feel numb. I've told him they and he said, okay, well, let's just tell the girls I'm leaving and how you feel and you don't want me. I sound so terrible. I'm sorry. I know I've done things to hurt us too, many things. So this is, again, text messages between, so it sounded like, she wanted to wait to get out of the marriage until Macy was out of the house.
Yeah, that was a big thing for her, was she just kind of wanted to pull through because she didn't want Macy to have to go through that. And that was one of the things that she brought up, was that Macy had a friend whose parents were divorced, and so I think in her head she didn't want that to have to happen while she was at home. So she was going to wait until she was at least out of the house and then try and figure out something to do with their marriage.
In one text, she even said, I live in a shack right now. I'm sure he won't make it easy. He has always wanted control. She also said, I can't do anything until we get our full payment for the house. And she's referring to the Indiana house. And she thinks maybe in January that will happen.
Yeah.
She also mentioned that she wanted to talk to her sister because, her sister, Melinda, had also broken up with a marriage. She wanted some advice from her sister, some sisterly advice. In September 3rd, 2019, Sheila said, unfortunately, you get different Barrys. One who is abusive and runs out, one who is manipulating, and now one who is wanting to make things right. Suzanne replied, I stood my ground. He left again. And then she also responded, I told him I'm done. March 25th, 2020. Suzanne said, could use some extra prayers today. It's been rough here. How are your spirits? You getting used to remote teaching? Sheila says it's a new way of life. She texts a little bit about what's going on with her. Suzanne replies, just strength going forward, taking care of myself, physical in a stressful marriage. Macy and I had the tension here. She knows how he is toward me and almost begged me to divorce him. It was so sad, Sheila. He's still pulling Mal in. I worry about her. She wants to please him and feels responsible for his happiness. My heart aches for them both in different ways. Maybe a longer answer than you needed, but I appreciate your prayers and love. Sheila then responded, you've been on my heart extra these past few days. And then she texted more, but they went through the slides pretty quickly, so I was writing as quickly as I could. Some more text messages. Have you looked into next steps if you move toward getting out? This is Sheila asking Suzanne. Not really. I feel unequipped. Wish I could just have an amicable talk, but dealing with a narcissist. Macy said, Mom, we could move to Salida and both get jobs. Then Suzanne says in a different text thread, let me know if you have any advice. Macy assures me she would be fine with it yesterday. She said, Mom, why don't you just do it without telling him? She knows his manipulation ways. I don't either. And I feel it slipping. I finally got him off the idea of building a house. I was so anxious thinking about it. I think it was my inner self just, no, I shouldn't. Okay. She also referred to Barry as Jekyll and Hyde. And then she also talked about how he switches it on for the girls.
Yeah.
And, and she feels crazy at times because of how he is towards certain people. There's that Bible reference.
Yep.
Okay. I tweeted about the Bible reference if you guys want to follow me on Twitter. Yeah. Okay. What else do we want to talk about?
I thought that one was interesting.
Which one?
The medical bills.
Oh, yeah.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
So that was one of the other things that he would hold against her is obviously he would try and, get the girls on his side, which obviously made Suzanne feel some type of way. But then one of the other things that he would say during arguments was, okay, well, who's going to pay for your medical bills now? And he would kind of throw that in her face and kind of hang that over her head as a way to keep her in the marriage. And so that was brought up a lot of the times when talking about money and things like that, was that anytime she brought up or an argument happened or anything like that, he would kind of throw that in her face and just use it as an excuse, like if you leave, no one's going to pay for your medical bills and you're going to have to do it yourself.
She did mention to her friend that, if he were to get angry, that she would have a restraining order against him. So again, Sheila brought the spy pen to Florida, and, supposedly this Jeff Libler, he hadn't seen Suzanne since the summer of 1989 this was after she had graduated high school. I think it was his summer after his first year of college. And then it was actually at a party.
While she was dating Barry.
Yes.
And she hooked up with Jeff that night.
At the party.
Yeah.
Yeah. Barry was not there. Again, she reaches out to to Jeff Libler on Facebook, I think is what they thought. And, she just said something like, howdy, stranger. And then they started talking, and then it quickly led into phone calls. They also spoke on WhatsApp app, which I've never. What is it called?
WhatsApp.
Oh, I was saying WhatsApp app on my tweets. I'm not into that. I don't know those different apps, but
I've never used it, but I think your messages delete after a certain amount of time. I think. I've never used it, so I don't know.
Again, Jeff Libler didn't come forward. It was investigators who came, found him out, seeked him out from LinkedIn because of Suzanne's iCloud account. But when they did, talk to him, he was, comfortable and spoke with them and, was forthcoming with the investigation. He was actually, I think further on, he said he was kind of concerned for him and his family. Jeff also works in the pharmaceutical company, and Suzanne sent him a lab report, I believe, of course, of what she was dealing with, and asked kind of some advice, what should I do? And then it became more platonic. It became physical in February of 2019 in New Orleans, but they did not have sex on that trip. They just fooled around in the hotel room. They, there was Dallas. There was, I made a list on Twitter. I can't find all my tweets.
It's Florida, New Orleans.
Twice in Florida, Indiana, Michigan.
Yeah.
They sent photos to each other.
But yeah, the main reason that they started talking on those apps, because initially they were just texting, but then they had to switch to LinkedIn and WhatsApp because Barry started getting suspicious of who she was talking with and stuff. So that's why they decided to go on those apps.
Let's see what else. I thought this was really interesting. Barry would tell Suzanne, "Don't worry, one day you'll find your Fred."
Yeah.
And then they explained that in the courtroom. They were talking about who this Fred character is. So Fred is Suzanne's mom's second husband. So it's Suzanne's stepfather. And so he was kind of saying to Suzanne, one day you'll find
your second guy, basically.
Yeah. I just thought that was a strange comment.
One thing I thought that was interesting, so a lot of people talked about how Suzanne had just recently gotten really into mountain biking. And that was because when her and Jeff were talking, they would talk about their common interests, music, books, different things that they were into. And he had mentioned that she would really enjoy mountain biking. And I'm pretty sure within a week of him suggesting that is when she went and bought her bike, and he would tell her, trails in the area that were suitable for someone who was a beginner. And so I thought that was really interesting that the whole reason she got into this was because he suggested it to her.
Okay, we talked about the spy pen. Okay, there were 2 files that were deleted but were recovered from the FBI on the spy pen. I guess there were 11 files that were deleted and 11 that were saved, but they were able to recover 2 files that had been deleted, and one of which was Mr. Jeff Libler on one of them. And then the investigator said he couldn't remember what the second file was. The spy pen was found in Suzanne's closet, and June 2nd is when investigators learned about this Jeff person. They didn't know who the Jeff, they just knew that it was someone that Suzanne loved, obviously from the intimate conversations that was recorded on the spy pen. They said something like, "Jeff, baby, I love you. I will message you in a bit." They met 2 Valentines in a row. So that was in 2019 and 2020. That's right.
Yeah.
They were in the same location together, Suzanne and Jeff Libler.
Yep.
Suzanne talked about how she's emotional. and, and that it didn't matter to Jeff Libler. He was very supportive. He was saying, like, you're not emotional than you should be. I know you've heard that from someone else. You're a sweetheart. This boy craves for you. Everything about you. Can't wait to see you. There was 50 search warrants before knowing about Jeff Libler. That's a lot.
And they didn't know about the spy pen because, it looks like a regular pen. You wouldn't think anything of it, but it was actually because Suzanne had sent it to Sheila to hide it from Barry. Sheila's the one that told the FBI or some law enforcement that she had bought that, and then they ended up finding it. Otherwise, they probably wouldn't have even known it was there.
I don't really understand this part about how Jeff Libler, he claimed his phone had been destroyed shortly after Suzanne went missing, and he had deleted all the secret accounts that he had created, like the WhatsApp, and even LinkedIn.
Yeah. I think he said he deleted it because he was afraid that they would find stuff on her phone that connected to him, and he just wanted to completely cut off all options of involving him in anything, which was a big point of conversation, that a lot of their messages were deleted so they didn't have everything that was exchanged between the two.
Yeah, even throughout them talking over the 1.5 years, Suzanne even deleted a lot of messages too.
They said they would constantly delete messages every so often just in case someone did find the app. They didn't have all of it. It was just whatever was most recent that hadn't been deleted.
I mean, obviously this was a big secret that neither one of them wanted anyone to know.
But his family did find out.
Well, his daughter supposedly, one of his daughters, needed his phone to order pizza.
Yeah.
And saw some conversations he was having with Suzanne. And she told her...
His brother?
Yeah, her older brothers and her uncle.
Yeah.
About it. And so then they kind of stopped talking for a little bit.
Yeah.
And then picked it back up around Christmas time when she went and visited her father in Florida, and that's another time where they met up, and she ended up spending more days there just so that she could spend time with him. Mm-hmm. And she made the excuse to Barry that the weather was bad and she couldn't get home or something like that.
Yeah. And she would tell her friend Sheila that she made a new friend, or she met up with somebody while she was there, and would tell her oh, I'm alone now, even though she was with Jeff at the time. So the fact that she was hiding it from her best friend really meant that she did not want anybody to know about this.
So the only audio that we heard from the spy pen was Libler, or was it from the spy pen? Or was it the interview he had with the investigators?
I think it was the interview with the investigators, yeah. Because most of the spy pen stuff, because Suzanne had it in Barry's truck a lot of the time, or just in a car, it was really hard to pick it up.
Yeah, I'm sure at the trial, if this comes to a trial, that it will be presented.
Yeah.
So the phone that Libler had on May 9th and 10th, he didn't have anymore. So they talked a little bit about how he couldn't recall what the conversation he had with Suzanne on May 9th. But he remembers having a conversation or something like that with Suzanne. And let's see. What else? They did obtain phone records of Jeff Libler. And what else? It's the piece apart Facebook Messenger. Oh, that was weird in the courtroom.
Yeah.
The judge was a stickler on how people were presenting questions to the witnesses, and Iris Eaton got upset with the judge, I guess, when he said please ask the question differently. It was you can't use truth in the courtroom. And Barry did you notice Barry kind of lifted his head and was laughed a little bit? I don't know, it was strange. And then
no, I was watching his mom.
Eaton used the word evidence instead of truth when she asked the question again. They talked more about when, Suzanne went to visit Jeff Libler. They never met up in Colorado. He was supposed to plan a trip in March of 2020, but then COVID happened, so then that didn't happen. Eaton asked if Suzanne had a SIM card, and the investigator said no. Investigators have never found Suzanne's phone. And also, they said that they've never found the charger that she used to plug in next to her bed either. Luckily, they have information from the iCloud and other phone records that they obtained, and then obviously other friends and, that saved messages between them and Suzanne. They talked a little bit about how many times Jeff Libler and Suzanne spoke. It was like on November 26, 2018, they spoke seven times. That totaled more than 4 hours. From January 4th through the 11th, they spoke 26 times. There were 6 calls on January 11th that totaled an hour. On January 12th, she texted Sheila, I'm learning to detach from the love thing, is what she said supposedly to Sheila. I think he is scared of me pulling away. We're almost done, guys. Sorry with my notes. And I'm sorry if I'm jumping around here.
I promise we'll get to some of your questions.
Yeah, because we need to go to bed soon. Yeah, so July 2019, she went to Michigan. October 2019, went to Dallas. In February 2020, which is around Valentine's Day, the trip to get the spy pen to Florida, they met up. Whenever she went to Indiana and she would see Sheila, or not every time, but there was one date. Oh, April of 2019. There were some conversations that we can share. She said, or investigator said that she started mountain biking because of Jeff Libler, and she also started drinking IPAs because of him. They did send nude photos to each other. They talked like lovers. They
always said oh, I want you to be my wife. I want you to be my husband.
You're my soulmate.
Yeah, talked about that a lot.
And again, he doesn't remember what the last conversation that they had together. I thought I wrote down when the last conversation was. I feel like this is not on my notes.
2:11.
They also talked about that they wanted to go to Ecuador.
May 9th, 2:11.
Yes, so May 9th at 2:11, that was the last communication Suzanne had to anyone. Yeah. And it was to Jeff Libler on LinkedIn.
I believe so, yeah. They were talking and
so
being really flirty and stuff, and then she just stopped responding, yeah.
And this is the day before Suzanne was reported missing on May 10th. Yeah. So, Ecuador. They talked a little bit about at the end of the day, and I'm sure they're going to talk more about this tomorrow, about their conversation about going to a trip to Ecuador and how it's a cheap place to live, and they have a good, cheap place for healthcare and good healthcare, and
Suzanne even looked up, I think, education or language classes, yeah,
in Ecuador to do, I guess, teaching there because Suzanne was a teacher. And Libler was adamant to investigators that Barry Morphew did not know about them and did not know about their affair at all. And then I had to go out and do live shots at 5 and 6:30, so I had to leave a little bit early, but from what I heard that happened when I left is, that the defense was kind of alluding to that, Suzanne could be in Ecuador waiting for the love of her life to come and be with her in Ecuador. So I think the defense thinks that she might still be alive.
Yeah. Because that was a major thing for them, the fact that there wasn't blood anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
They just kept implying that, well, if you didn't find any blood, she's alive somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, that's their theory, that she's in Ecuador.
And of course, you know, the prosecution had stated on Friday of last week that there was supposed to be like 8 or 7 witnesses take the stand, and we only got to 2 investigators today. I saw a 3rd investigator today in the hallway. He's an FBI agent, and he was gonna take the stand, but they didn't get to him today. So there's supposed to be 6 witnesses taking the stand on tomorrow, and I just don't know if they're going to get to all of them. We don't know exactly who else is on the list. Both the defense and the prosecution, they have the list of who's going to be brought and when and what order and how long they want to talk to each one for. Okay, so I think we're ready for questions. We probably should only take a few because it's 10:30 and we need to wake up early. So
you've got Q's, we've got A's.
Yes, we'll see if we can answer that. Should be easy. Better house and better evidence. Tomorrow plot twist. Oh, also, do you guys like how I'm tweeting, or is it confusing? Is there a better way to tweet? Someone's saying Suzanne is not in Ecuador. No way. Was anyone from Suzanne's family in attendance today? No, a lot of them live out of state. Some of them were texting me and, you know, just wanting to know kind of what the feel of the courtroom was like when I was there. But no. I know that some of Suzanne's friends from Salida were in attendance. Some church members.
Sorry about the noise in the background. If you keep hearing that, it's the AC right behind the camera.
Anything else about Barry's demeanor? Do you want to describe Barry's demeanor?
So I kept trying to watch like facial expressions, how he was sitting, different things like that. For the most part, he seemed pretty calm and collected. He was usually just kind of sitting back. Every now and then he would cross his arms, but for the most part, he was just kind of sitting there taking it all in. One thing that I was really aware of during the breaks was watching how he interacted with his daughters. So obviously during the break, you know, it's just 10 minutes, so he was allowed to stay out there, and, you know, everyone went to the bathroom, did their thing. But I would watch how he would interact with his daughters. He wasn't allowed to, you know, go up and hug them or anything, but they would just smile at him the whole time. And like Lauren mentioned in her story, if you guys haven't seen it yet because it aired at 10, but
go to Fox 21 News.
There you go.
It's on there.
But they kept mouthing to each other, you know, I love you so much, I miss you, and just kind of smiling the whole time and like giggling about little things, like he would make a funny expression or something. And there was a lot of times where like he would touch his heart and kind of, you know, do one of these or something. So that was just really interesting for me, seeing how he was interacting with the girls after everything that was being presented throughout the day.
He stared at me multiple times, and did he stare at you?
Not necessarily stared, but I was also kind of watching him, so when he did look, I just didn't break the gaze.
I heard he winked at another reporter.
That's gross.
He didn't wink at me. What else did we notice in the courtroom? He was wearing cowboy boots, a gray suit, navy tie. He didn't have any
no handcuffs or anything around his ankles.
He had to ask to go to the bathroom when he needed to.
Yeah. It was his mom, his sister, and then the 2 girls that were there.
I think one of his nephews was there as well.
He was only there for the first half. I noticed he wasn't there
really?
for a lot of it, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions? No one from Suzanne's family was in attendance, but there was a lot of Suzanne's friends there.
And a lot of them were watching on the WebEx too, because they do live out of town still, or out of state.
Someone's saying Barry's innocent. Trevor was not there, no.
Yeah, they talked about the sexual assault charge thing in regards to her car, and then kind of just like forgot about it. Like they mentioned it and then moved on.
I thought maybe it could be like if someone had worked on her car or something. Like if she took it in to get something fixed. Yeah. I don't know.
They basically just said they found these prints. Mm-hmm. They were related to something with a sexual assault case, and then kind of moved on.
Remember that this is just a preliminary hearing. This is just so that the judge can see if, probable cause, if the charges stand.
Yeah, if they have enough.
Yeah, if they have enough evidence. I can't read them. They're so fast. Can you slow them down? Trevor Noel was not in, or Noel, sorry. Trevor Noel was not in the courtroom. Someone says, what did the sister say to you? It's in a tweet. You can go look at my tweet.
Libler was not there today.
No, he was not in attendance, no. Was the judge, what was his personality, demeanor? He was just really wanting to make sure that they stayed on time and that, you know, if someone was wanting to redirect, you know, a question, or if, you know, if someone wasn't asking the question appropriately, or he kind of just was trying to get through, you know, all the evidence, I guess, and all the witnesses.
Yeah. I saw one question about the defense attorney. In my opinion, I thought the majority of, at least after the lunch break, the majority of their argument or their topic was just strictly the affair. That's all their questions were about was, you know, what time did this text message happen? What time did they go to this location? What did they do at this location? And I just felt like they really focused on that, and that was it. That was all they talked about. It was, you know, every little specific detail you can think of. And I felt like that's all they talked about for about 2 hours.
Mm-hmm. People are saying that's a distraction. Lauren, y'all need MMJ, what?
Mimi J2?
To help you mod. I don't know how to mod. I don't know what that is. Someone can send me a message on Facebook or Twitter about mod. That would be great.
Is there a way to, like, slow them down?
I don't know. Oh. I don't know. We'll figure this out later. Someone says the affair is the biggest motive. But it was like Barry didn't know about the affair until this spy pin came out.
Yeah.
Sorry if we're looking weird into the camera. Someone said does Jeff Libler work in Michigan with the Mormon Farm Company? No, he does not. He's a pharmaceutical. He works for a pharmaceutical company in Michigan. And I don't know if I should say what I was about to say. No, I don't want to say that because.
What's your Twitter handle?
My Twitter handle?
Yeah.
Oh, of course. It's just at Lauren Scharf TV, and it's regular spelling, Lauren, Lauren, Scharf, S as in Sam, CHARF, TV. And that also goes for my Facebook as well. Okay, let's answer 2 more questions.
Okay.
And then let's go to bed.
You guys have so many.
Wasn't Suzanne last ping was the last time officially she had a trace? Like we said, it was, what, 2:11 when the last...
Well, I don't know if that was the last ping, but that was the last
I did write
message.
I believe it was sometime early on Sunday morning. Then it was last pinged in Poncha Springs Tower.
We will be there tomorrow.
Yes, but
hopefully in the courtroom.
Yeah, we don't have a reserved seat in the courtroom, so hopefully we can get there early enough to get one. Again, the courtroom or the courthouse, or I can't talk. I'm so tired. The court hearing will begin at 9 a.m. instead of 8:30 like initially thought. Again, you can't bring a camera in the courtroom, and the WebEx is not public. The WebEx is only available to family of the Morphews as well as the Mormons.
And the plan right now is they're supposed to have a hearing tomorrow, theoretically get through all 6 of their witnesses, and then...
2 days later, or not 2 days later. There'll be
at the end of August,
At the end of August, the 23rd and the 24th, the last 2 days of this preliminary hearing.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go to bed.
Let's do it.
Okay, stay tuned to my live tweet updates. If you need to know what my Twitter handle is, it is at Lauren Scharf TV. I will be posting as much as I can tomorrow in the courtroom, hopefully in the courtroom. Hopefully I can get a spot. We got to share it with our other Fox affiliate in Denver, so hopefully I can get a spot as well, maybe in the back instead of I was on the front row right behind the state,
DA.
yeah, the DA, and then but I had a good angle to see Barry's reaction, and Barry's family's reaction. I had a good spot.
Yeah.
So hopefully we will be in the courtroom tomorrow morning at 9 a.m.
Yep.
All right. Thank you so much for tuning in here tonight. Sorry that we had so many technical difficulties. We're kind of new to YouTube, but hopefully this will save and you can go back and forth and rewatch some of the parts. And hopefully that other video saved, because we talked a lot about what happened early on in today's preliminary hearing. But thanks so much for staying up late tonight, and I will maybe see you guys tomorrow. All right, bye.
Bye.
How do I end this?